I was rambling for like 3 minutes there and I wasn't recording. Anyways. J.R.R. Tolkien, a biography by Humphrey Carpenter. So I finally finished reading this book. Now, if you saw my Beren and Luthien video, then you would see that I referenced this book and that I said that I was about halfway, I think, at that time. So I finally finished it. It's honestly it's not a long book. It's under 300 pages and it's not hard to get through. It just took me a while just because of life. Just distractions, work, other priorities, I guess. I just want to make that clear. It's not a hard book to get through, which is why I like it so much, because I've never read another biography before. I'm sure maybe I have in like elementary and middle school, but as a teenager and adult, I have not read a biography before. And I have always imagined that they would be a little bit more of a drag, or just more like a textbook. Like there's useful, great information in it, but it's more factual. It's just more like bullet points. Like this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and that's it. And though this book did do that, I'm sure a lot has to do with bias, right? I'm sure because I wanted to read this, I have a a strong desire to get to know Tolkien and to know more about him and his writing and his process. That helped me have much more enthusiasm, I guess, while reading this book. But I honestly do think that it's the writing itself. I think Humphrey Carpenter does a great job of pacing. I think he fits in so much information in just a couple of pages. And I feel like I learned so much, and I always have to, after just 2-3 pages or so, I'll stop and I'll just take it all in, reread some stuff, maybe do some research, because a lot of things that are mentioned in the book I've never heard of, or I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know how things worked. But I think it's really great, and it's really accessible and really informational. And I think the book is really immersive, and it helps me just come to such a great understanding of who Tolkien was and what his life was like. And I think that's the goal of any biography, is understanding, insight. And that is 100% what I got from this book. My biggest takeaway is from Tolkien is that it's just a pleasant surprise of how human he was, how ordinary he was. He procrastinated a lot. I mean, his writing work is extensive, so it's not like he just did a couple books. And even if you just look at 2 books that he's written, the imagination is out of this world. So it's not just that he has a small volume of writings, because I think he has 4 complete books. I guess the Silmarillion, it would make that 5, and then a bunch of other tales and short stories. But the lore, the thinking that he had to do to create all that is just, it's special, it's unique, it's not likely to be duplicated again. And he published all that until he was in his middle of his life, or even the end of his life. The Silmarillion unfortunately didn't even get published while he was still alive. He was still working on it in like the last decade that he was alive, trying to sort everything together. Because since 1917, if I remember correctly, after the war or during the war, actually, he was already writing Tales of the Silmarillion. Basically, from then into the end of his life, he was writing, getting everything together, rewriting, trying to make sure everything was canonical. It was just also crazy how he truly wrote The Hobbit as its own thing. He did hints in his mind at the time. He did hints to the world that he was creating, the Silmarillion. He did hints and nods to that world, but he 100% did not have this full arc in mind of the connection to Bilbo, the connection to Frodo, the ring, taking the ring to Mount Doom. None of that was in his mind when he wrote it. And it's just incredible that when the publishers and the fans were just pushing for a sequel, and when he began to write the Lord of the Rings, he was just going chapter by chapter, not knowing where it was going to go. He truly was just going with the flow, I guess, letting the characters write themselves, so to speak. While he was doing that, he would just have to stop and just be like, wait a minute, how does this tie into this? Wait a minute. Maybe the ring should have more significance than just some magical ring. So he was creating the lore as he went. And I just think that's so, it's just crazy. It's just so, it's easy to look at Tolkien and just have him in a pedestal and just see him as like some sort of literary mastermind that just, it's just like it's unattainable, his knowledge and creativity. And I think the book doesn't even focus on the making of Lord of the Rings. I think it's only probably about 50 pages, or maybe a little more, but it's probably just about 60 pages or so of focusing on the making of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I think that those pages really do add so much insight and depth to his process and to him as a writer and as a man. And I just found that so insightful and so great. I don't want to ramble too long on what's in the book itself, because that's for you to find out. The writing is great, and something I like about him as personally as a man is that I learned and I found fascinating is that he was so simple, 100% ordinary physically, the way he dressed. He was even more simple than most men. He obtained how do I say it? He refrained from indulging too much in fashion, too much in material things. He was very much just what he needed, practical, I guess you could say. And his marriage also was complex like any other marriage. They loved each other greatly. They loved each other since they were teenagers. I made a video on, as I said earlier, about Baron and Luthien and his connection to that personally. But also towards the end of their life, or not even during marriage and during parenthood, their marriage was complicated. And it's kind of sad, but it seems like Edith, his wife, sacrificed a lot for him, and that she spent most of her life unhappy. Not necessarily because of who Tolkien was, but just her circumstances that she found herself in, and especially the times. So she was very submissive to her husband and whatever he thought was best. And the book isn't about Edith, but I think the book does a great job of shedding some light and understanding on her. But it's great to hear that she the last years of her life she was happy, and he did a lot of sacrifices for her to accommodate her needs. And yeah, it just shows that all in all, true love was there, and no matter how complicated it was. And I mean, that is marriage, right? It's complex, it's complicated, it's not easy, it's not honeymoon phase all the way through, anyways. So yeah, I guess those are my final thoughts on the book. I could go on and on and on. As I talk about it, I remember more things that I learned in the book, but that's for you to find out. When I discovered this book, I looked at reviews. I tried to see reviews on YouTube and whatnot, and I didn't see anything. So I just wanted to put this out there for anyone who's, such as myself, beginning to get into Tolkien, or maybe you're already really into Tolkien, but you've never really read a biography on him. You've just read his work. So hopefully this could help you and inspire you to read the book, finish it. And let me know what you guys think if you read the book. Share this video with other Tolkien nerds, or just anyone who you think would find this interesting. Thanks for watching.